Darkened night. The night had a weight to it, pressing down on the land like a suffocating hand. The moon was absent, swallowed by a sky thick with low-hanging clouds, leaving nothing but a vast abyss overhead. Even the stars refused to pierce the darkness, as though they feared whatever lurked below. Harlan Graves stood at the edge of a nameless town, watching as shadows pooled around the abandoned buildings. His lantern flickered against the wind, casting weak beams across the dirt road leading deeper into the forsaken place. Rumors had brought him here, a town swallowed by the dark, a place where people vanished, leaving only whispers behind. He took a slow step forward, boots crunching against brittle twigs. The silence was heavy, unnatural. Not even the sound of insects hummed in the air. It was as if the town had been plucked from time, left to exist in eternal stillness. Harlan was no stranger to danger. He had spent years as a tracker, hunting men and beasts alike. Yet something about this place gnawed at his instincts, a deep-rooted warning urging him to turn back. He ignored it, pressing onward. Shadows stretched unnaturally as he entered the main street. The buildings stood like hollowed-out corpses, their wooden frames warped and rotting. He approached the first structure, what appeared to be a general store. The sign creaked against its rusted chain, swaying despite the absence of wind. Inside, dust blanketed the floor like freshly fallen snow. Shelves sat empty, their contents long picked clean. Harlan moved carefully, eyes scanning the corners for movement. A faint scent lingered in the air, something damp and decayed. Then he saw them, footprints in the dust, barefoot, too small for an adult, but too large for a child. The prints trailed toward the back door, vanishing into darkness. Harlan followed, his lantern trembling slightly in his grip. The door groaned as he pushed it open, revealing the alley beyond. The footprints continued, leading toward an old chapel at the heart of town. Its steeple jutted into the black sky, crooked and broken. A whisper slithered through the air. Harlan froze. He hadn't imagined it. The sound was real. "Who's there?" he called out, voice steady despite the chill creeping up his spine. Silence answered. He cursed under his breath and pressed forward. The town was supposed to be empty. No one had lived here for years, yet something was watching him. He could feel it, a presence lurking just beyond the veil of darkness. As he neared the chapel, the air grew thick with the scent of damp earth. The door stood ajar, yawning like the mouth of something waiting to swallow him whole. Harlan hesitated before stepping inside. The pews were overturned, scattered like discarded bones. The altar was bare save for a single, withered book resting atop it. His lantern's glow barely touched the corners of the room, but in its flickering light, he saw movement. Something shifted in the shadows. His hand went to the revolver at his hip. A low, guttural whisper echoed through the chapel, words tangled in something ancient. Harlan stepped back. Then the door slammed shut behind him. The lantern flickered wildly as a cold gust snuffed its flame. Darkness swallowed him whole. A scraping sound filled the air, like nails dragging across stone. Harlan drew his gun, pulse hammering. "Show yourself," he demanded. The silence stretched, then movement. A shape peeled itself from the shadows, too fluid, too unnatural. It had no defined form, only the suggestion of limbs, eyes that glowed like embers in the abyss. A voice, whisper thin, yet deafening, spoke. "You should not have come," Harlan fired. The shot roared through the chapel, but the thing didn't flinch. The bullet vanished into the dark, swallowed like a raindrop in the ocean. The whispering grew, voices layering upon each other, weaving a chorus of things long forgotten. Then the ground beneath Harlan gave way. He fell. Darkness consumed him, pulling him into a void where time lost meaning. The abyss below. Harlan awoke to cold stone beneath him. His body ached, but he was alive. His lantern was gone, his revolver missing. He sat up slowly, blinking against the inky blackness. A faint glow pulsed in the distance, a sickly green light that twisted as though it were alive. Shapes moved at the edge of his vision, shifting and writhing. He wasn't alone. A whisper coiled around him. "We are waiting." His breath hitched. Harlan forced himself to his feet, fist clenched. He didn't know where he was, but he wasn't about to lie down and die. He took a step forward, then another. The ground beneath him felt wrong, too soft, too alive. He reached the source of the glow and found a figure standing in its center. A woman dressed in tattered cloth, her face obscured by shadows. "You can't leave," she said softly. Harlan frowned. "Who are you?" She tilted her head. "The last one who tried."